Oh my, what's up everybody? It's Rich and I'd like to talk with you to review the latest pro wrestling news and results that's out of wrestling, baby! Hey. Oh, it's a triple threat Thursday. This is the first of 3 rants as part of a catch-up Thursday here, Wrestling Rants. And it is a throwback Thursday, so you know what that means. It's time for Rantrospective, looking back on this day in wrestling, July 20th. And also coming up ahead, we got midweek must-see matches. And this one's a humdinger, folks, because there is a lot to talk about in the must-see match department this week, for sure. And then we will finish off the night with a special top 10 takes as an extension of midweek must-see matches. We are going to take a deeper look into the first 4 nights of the New Japan Pro Wrestling G1 Climax tournament and take a look at the top 10 matches that you must see to catch up on the G1 Climax so far. So that is part of a Triple Threat Thursday, but first and foremost, it's time, once again, showtime for Rantrospective. This day in wrestling, July 20th, let's talk about, first and foremost, some of the birthdays on this day in wrestling. 1987, Evil Uno was born. 1979, remember this guy? Adam Rose, who really isn't in wrestling anymore, but he was born this day in 1979. Also, Mike Sanders in 1969, another guy you don't see or hear much of in wrestling, was born. Then the last one was Tiger Hattori, the famous referee in New Japan Pro Wrestling. In 1945, on this day, he was born. Okay, let's get into it. Not a whole lot this week in this day in wrestling, Rantrospective, July 20th, but some significant stuff. A few pay-per-views dropped on this day. There was a few titles that changed hands, and, well, let's get into it. Way back into it, 1963, folks. This is a long time ago. We're talking, well, I guess 63 from now. What is that, like 70 years ago or something like that? I don't know. You do the math. I'm not good with it. But Vern Gagne defeated the Crusher on this day in 1963 to win the AWA World Championship. Another big legendary world championship changed hands on this day in 1973, and that was Jack Briscoe defeating Harley Race in Houston for the NWA World Heavyweight title. Let's fast forward a bit, and let's go all the way to 1992. On this day in 1992, there was a Superstars of Wrestling taping from WWF, and debuting on this day, July 20th, was Scott Hall, a.k.a. Razor Ramon, in his WWF debut. Basically wrestled 3 squash matches. One was against Jim Powers, and then I can't remember the other one, just a couple jobbers for the other 2. How about 1998? There was a WCW Nitro in Salt Lake City, Utah, with a couple title changes. Speaking of which, Scott Hall was involved in one of these title changes. Scott Hall and the Giant went over Kevin Nash and Sting for the WCW Tag Championships. If you recall, this was the days of NWO Hollywood and the NWO Wolfpack taking on each other. And then also, Bret Hart defeated Diamond Dallas Page for the United States Championship. How about 2008? Let's go to 2008. WWF's Great American Bash pay-per-view from the Nassau Coliseum. Saw some title changes in this one. Particularly the one of note that I took a look at was the Edgeheads, who was Matt Cardona, Zack Ryder, and also Brian Myers, who was known at this time as Kurt Hawkins, won the WWE WWE Tag Team Championships from Miz and Morrison, Jesse and Festus, and Fit Finlay and Hornswoggle in a 4-way match for the Tag Championships. Also, Shelton Benjamin went over Matt Hardy, won the U.S. title, and Michelle McCool defeated Natalya for the Divas Championship on this pay-per-view. Moving ahead to 2014, WWE had yet another pay-per-view. This was Battleground in Tampa, Florida, with one, I guess, main event of note here, John Cena retaining the WWE Championship in a match over Kane, Randy Orton, and Roman Reigns. Also, The Miz won an Intercontinental Championship run again. I don't know how many he's had of those in a Battle Royal. 2019, this is right before COVID, July 2019 to the 20th to be exact, Ring of Honor had Manhattan Mayhem from the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York City. With the one match of note that really stood out was the Briscoes going over the Gorillas of Destiny from New Japan in a street fight to win, once again, the Ring of Honor Tag Championships. And then in 2020, this was in the Thunderdome during COVID, I believe. This was a Monday Night Raw show. A few things happened on this show. Sasha Banks did beat Asuka via countout. This was part of a stipulation in the match to win the Women's Championship on that show. And as well, this was the final match in WWE history of the Big Show as he wrestled Randy Orton in an unsanctioned match in 2020. So this was a very short retrospective this week, maybe one of the shortest ever. This day in wrestling, July 20th. Not a whole lot to say, but it was what it was. July 20th, done. We'll see you next week, July 27th, for our next retrospective right here at Wrestling Rants. But coming up, like I said, what we got next is midweek must-see matches. We got a lot to talk about on that level here. And then we're going to finish off the night with a top 10 takes of the must-see matches of New Japan's G1 Climax. So far, 4 nights in, what are the best matches to check out? Well, let me tell you something about it as part of top 10 takes. Come on back, right here, Wrestling Rants, baby!